Okay, now we're going to the lesson 5, and I will be talking about the job search overview as a sales funnel and some of the tactics that works real well. Now, let's jump into it. So when somebody talks about the job search, this is what I see, and this is my perception of the job search. When you are working in sales or you're working in marketing, you have this funnel, right? There's going to be some sort of a certain stages that your leads will go through or your prospects will go through. The job search is exactly the same thing, and it helps to visualize it in this way, because this will help you take certain actions and monitor those actions in a way that mimics sales, and then that will be more effective. So essentially where we start is the job search, it's a sales process. You want to build a relationship and even make friends. That's what it really is, because the sales role, the sales job is not necessarily, it is to sell, of course, but if you're just going to think that my role is to sell or my role is to find a job, then it's kind of sucks, right? You're not going to feel any motivation. You won't have any bigger meaning behind it. You can't do it for a long time, especially for a few months. So one of the ways to think about it is you're going to meet great people, you're going to meet smart people, and you could build a relationship with them, and you could potentially become friends with them. How cool is that? I think that's pretty cool. And that's what really successful salespeople do. That's what they are building relationship, and they are expanding their network. They're building friends, and it's the same thing with a job search. So you start, and I'm just going to give you an overview of this diagram, of this pyramid on the left, and then we'll dive into some of the points. You start with identifying your industry. You look at certain companies you want to target. Then you look at, okay, what are those prospects or those employers from those companies that you want to talk to. You set up coffee meetings, you meet with them in person, you do personal projects, which I call pre-interview projects, to select the companies and employers that you would like to do pre-interview projects for. Then you have HR referrals. Somebody you meet with somebody, then you ask them, hey, can you refer me to HR? And then you reach out to HR with a referral, and that is a completely different experience. And then you get an interview. And then that's one of the last steps, and then you get the job offer. And by doing all of this, you can get to hopefully to a dream career, and you will be much more successful and super happy in what you're doing. So I think I spent quite a lot of time talking about why it's more effective than the passive job search, because you are actually reaching out, you are doing more work, and you're very purposeful in what you're doing, right? You're starting with certain industry, you have certain companies that you want to target, and then you're going down the funnel to get that job. You also develop your content strategy, the templates, before you start. And I'll give you some suggestions on how to do that for the phone call, for an email, for LinkedIn, and just for a friend request. You also want to practice on the phone, and some of you might not want to do that, but I would highly recommend it, because there are a few people who ever jump on the phone and do a call somebody. It sounds maybe scary, but it's definitely worth doing, and I had a great success of doing that, because you never know, and it shows great initiative. It shows that you are really go above and beyond to try to connect with the right people, and it does not go unnoticed. Okay, so highly recommend that. I'll give you a script that works really well, but you need to practice it many times. Thanks, Rats and Saps, again, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So that is really important. Also, if you're not comfortable with networking, you, again, as I mentioned before, sign up for as many meetups as you can. It's all about the practice. You want to practice as much as you can. If you cannot find meetups by any chance for your field, sign up for other ones. Sign up for a public speaking class. Do them consistently. Do them twice a week, and you always can find time. Just 1 hour on the weekend or after work or whatever. And you just want to practice. You want to practice meeting people and building a relationship and build your personal brand. This one is super important, because you want to have a great presence online, and that means you want to have a good LinkedIn profile, and you can find a lot of information on it. I'm probably going to add more lessons on that later on. What kind of headline do you want to build for your LinkedIn? What type of summary do you want to create so it's compelling, right? It tells the employer a little bit about yourself. It shows your levels of expertise and stuff. And then going into adding your projects, adding your maybe group projects that you've done. So it shows a complete picture. And also doing something else. So for example, if you are good with video, you can do video. You can do like Instagram 1-minute videos to talk about whatever. Talk about how to develop the code, right? Do just those nuggets and do them every day for next month, and then you can create like a series, right? And promote that. Or if you're a great writer, you can go on medium.com and register on medium.com and then do that. Just write 2 blogs a week. And it's a really great way to show that, hey, you're not only trying to find a job, but you're really passionate about this industry. You know what you're talking about, and then you can repost it on LinkedIn, and that goes really a long way of establishing your credibility and making it easier for an employer to hire you. So what it looks like, as I've walked you through before, you shortlist employers that fit your goals, right? And that could be people who are on a manager level, director level, VP level, or CEOs, depending on how big of a company you're targeting. If it's a big company, manager, director, or senior manager are generally a good target. And for example, if it's a product management, product managers is a good target. Director of product is a good target for large companies. It's a smaller company, then you want to go for CEO or co-founder or founder. It works really well. I met a lot of them, and it's better because you can directly connect and get a straight answer for hey, could you hire me? Like what kind of thing? What should I know, right? To get the job. You want to direct message them on LinkedIn or even Instagram. You can direct message them on Instagram. The way to do that is, there's certain people out there that have their Instagram profile open. So if you open them on your mobile phone, there's a way to send them the message. And you would think, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make sense in a way because nobody's going to message them on Instagram ever about the job. And so it means that this is the channel that very few people use. And in the marketing world, you always want to use the channel that is used the least, right? It's the least frequently used channel, because you can get a much better open rate, much better conversion rate. And so that there's a likelihood of that person responding is much higher. It is the same thing with Medium. With Medium, a few people know that you could actually network as well. So for example, if you have a developer who is pretty famous, right, and you'd love to connect with him, maybe you want to do a phone call and he's not even in Canada, he's maybe in the United States, but you are looking for a job in Canada. So you go in his Medium profile, and then you can just go through an article. You can highlight a certain sentence or selection of the paragraph that you really like, and then you right click it, and then there will be this option, I think it's the furthest to the right, where it shows a private message. That you could send a private message to that person. It's limited in number of characters, but you can always say, hey, I really love this insight. Could we connect? Or I'd love to have I'd love to discuss this, or I'd love to have a chat with you. And I did it a couple times, and I got great responses, because most people don't really do that. And it really shows that you went on it, you read it, you had a specific paragraph that you liked, and you can always, that article is a great build up of the rapport between you, and you can guys connect later on LinkedIn. You can also do a phone call or do an email, and you can look up an email with a bunch of tools online. I usually recommend Snove.io or Email Hunter. Those really work well. You want to connect this information, as I mentioned, the internal information about the job, about the company during the coffee meeting. You want to do a pre-interview project to show that you can deliver value before doing an interview, so you can make it as easy as possible for the company to hire you. And then after you get that pre-interview project, somebody is really impressed with the work you did, then you can apply for a position through a known contact, right? They will refer you. It will be you will be known. It's not like somebody off the street nobody heard of. It's somebody that you talk to a manager, they know you, they had a great conversation, you did some work, and it's much easier for those people to hire you. And then you do great work at the interview, then you're good, right? You've done everything you need, and that's how you land a position. So important aspects to consider. Something that I found from my experience that is that works really well. Do not ever be afraid to ask a question and tell people what you're looking for, because sometimes when you are at the interview or you are meeting somebody, you have this question, but you're a little afraid. Hey, like, should I ask it or not? Always ask it, because you never know. You'll learn something, and if you make a mistake, and you'll learn from it, and you won't have a shortage of people that would like to meet with you with this approach. So test it out, just try it out, and don't be afraid to be asking any questions that you have. You also want to consider the VCs and the companies that they're invested in, right? So some of you will be looking for a company that really has this trajectory, right? That like grows really far. So how do you find those companies? Well, one of the ways is to go on Google, right? And Google the fastest growing companies. But another one that I think is really cool is there's a few venture capitalists in Canada that are really large, or in the United States. You can go on their website and find the companies they just invested in, and then you can find those companies and go onto their websites and research more, and then add them to your list, and then start reaching out to them. Or you can register on Crunchbase. There's a website called Crunchbase, and then there you'll see all the startups, and then whatever the number of money they raised, who were the investors. I believe you don't need to pay for it to have the full view, so you could adjust and create your own customized searches. But this is a great way if you are targeting specific companies and you want a company that really is going forward, that like you want to jump on board of a fast growing company. And the best way to find out is to look for VCs and large VCs and who they invest in, and then look at on Google or look through the Crunchbase. Use out-of-the-box templates, pretty straightforward. Follow the checklist to be ready for in-person meeting, and I will discuss it later in this course. There will be a few questions and things you want to consider before going into that meeting. You also want to make sure your resume is outcome-based. We will spend time talking about it, and you want to reference a name you spoke before passing your resume. Always you want to make sure that you reference somebody. It's super important, because it's all about referrals. And even if you don't have a position, right? If you met with somebody from a company and they don't have a position, you always want to ask, hey, can I use your name as a referral just by any, if I come across something later on, and you always want to have that opportunity to be able to reference a name, because referrals are huge. You put it in a subject line and it makes a massive difference, right? So consider that as well. Now, before you go further, I really want you to pick an industry that you'd like to work in. I think we get to this point where we spend time on the mindset, we spend time on skills, self-awareness. Hopefully you've done those exercises. You understand what this job search looks like, what the active process will be. And right now, I would like you to go and pick that industry that you'd like to work in. If it's tech, amazing. If it's something else, okay, great. And then list those 20 companies, right? List those 20 target companies that you'd like to target, and you could use the VC's approach that I mentioned, or you could find, maybe you have certain in mind already. You could Google the companies, and you can always look at the company on Glassdoor and then check them out by rating. Rating on Glassdoor is really cool as well. You can find it's very accurate. So you pick one, and one company, and then find 5 employees on LinkedIn with similar titles that you'd like to connect with, right? Manager or director, and message them, right? Do that right now. So you again, like, you want to have this quick win just to test it out, see how it works. You want to generate that momentum. And then when I'm saying employer, it will be like, again, manager, director, VP. Use this template. I provided you a template below here. It says, hey, my first name, I'm Sergey, tech marketer. I'm determined to transition to product management, or whatever the field you are looking to get into, to a company similar to Salesforce. I'd love to ask your help and advice in this space and on this space and daily projects. Will you be free for a 10-minute phone call next Friday? If not, I can be flexible. That's something that you want to test it out. Just do that. And when I say message them, you literally what you do is you add them as a friend. Okay, you add them as a friend, and then you will have a 160, 150 characters, and this message will fit in. Just use that and then connect with those 5 people. Do it right now before you go further in the program, so you can see the results right away, and we will be on the right track. Cool. Thanks, guys.